Hey, I was just thinking about you. Welcome to the Fireside. We have a fun show for you today. We have Dillon Forte as our special guest. Dillon does tattoos that give me anxiety. A lot of sacred geometry, a lot of symmetry, a lot of tattoos that depend on cleanliness of lines and solid fills of shapes, all the things I'm terrible at. But lucky for me and for you and for folks who want to get that style of tattoo, Dillon is out there. And we had a great conversation about lots of different topics, a lot about sacred geometry as an art form, its history, some of the math and philosophy and mythology and things like that surround it. A lot of practical talk as well about how to actually apply it to skin, stencil it to skin. And then the conversation just meandered kind of all over the place. It was a good time. But hey, real quick before we get to the episode, you're almost out of time to sign up for Fireside Yacht Club. It's coming up in just a couple of months at this point with my friend Andy Chambers. Come out to the boat, hang out with us, do some drawing, some painting, drink a couple of beers maybe, jump off some cliffs, ride a jet ski, and just relax with some like-minded artists. So if you have any interest, even if you can't make this particular trip, you should go to the Fireside Yacht Club landing page, learn more about it, sign up for the waiting list, the mailing list, and when we announce our next Yacht Club trip, which is already in the works, we'll notify you first for that one, and you can jump in before anyone else. It's like a special privilege that you will get. But hey, let's jump on into the episode, and I'll see you at the end.
It was interesting. You're the second or third person that I've gotten in contact with through, or that a publicist has reached out. Nico Hurtado reached out that way as well. That seems to be something that's becoming more common, huh?
Dude, I had Bob. I mean, I have no idea, honestly, because I had that dude, Bob. He's been helping me for like a minute probably now. It was like an LA thing, honestly, because I think that's probably Nico too. We were like,
yep.
How do you like get like anyone, like how do you get into like anything, like a magazine or something? You know, this was like maybe 2018 probably that I started having him help with, you know? So it was like, it was just like a referral from somebody. Who even was it? It had something to do with tattooing it, like with Kat. Okay. And maybe like one of the producers there or somebody, because we were going to do a show, like I don't know, it's some LA shit, honestly, so I don't know, but yeah, Bob's hella cool. He's been super helpful for this kind of stuff, because it's like, I'm just like, hey bro, like we should probably start doing more podcasts, and he's like, oh word, I'll just like reach out to some, you know, so it just like does help make it easier.
Sure, yeah, and then that's someone that can kind of keep up with all of it for you, like the, you know, I basically, all the booking stuff he handled for you, and it wasn't until...
The hard thing is the move, honestly, for this kind of stuff, because it's like, I have a PA who does like all the bookings, like she's been helping me for like, but that's like the whole team. I mean, that is like literally the like totality of the like team. Is like I've had a PA since like 2012, and that was like when the emails started kind of kicking in to where I was like, oh shit, like I mean, honestly, now I probably like could do anything. Like it's not that many. I think it's like, but there was a minute where it was like there was like 30,000 unread emails about tabs. I was like, yo, I need somebody to help me go through this. Now it's like, I mean, emails are coming in, but it's like casual. It's like, I feel like it's just kind of like...
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, you've obviously taken a different approach than a lot of tattooers. We talk a lot in our tattoo club about this kind of rugged individualist mentality of tattooers. Like, well, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. So they're trying to book everything, order everything, do the tattoos, run the show, and you seem like you kind of recognized your skill set and plugging other people with skill sets in around you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm fucking trash at delegation, bro. Like, I am like the epitome of what you described. I mean, it took me like maybe, I don't know how long, like, I started tattooing in like 2005, so I'm like, the times are all weird. I don't know, like, probably 7 or 8 years before I was like, I didn't even know like what a PA stood for. I was like, like for what? Like, they like, I didn't know clue until just the emails were like crazy, and I was like, fuck, okay, like, that like, I could probably, like, someone was like, you know, if you like have someone like help you with that, and I was like, oh, okay, and then that did help for sure. But I mean, I'm still kind of sometimes going in there going like, I gotta do this shit. I mean, I absolutely live by the like, if you want it done right, like do it yourself, like
do it yourself
for sure, like 100%. I mean, it just makes for bad delegating though at the same time. So like, no, I like would love to like be able to build like a like team, you know. I mean, I was putting together machines like literally before this, and then I was like posting photos. I spent like 2 days editing photos just to post like a thing I just dropped, a little machine like we have machines. It's like there's always like a we. It's like there's no we, bro. No.
It's just you.
Right. Yeah, it's like a minimal team. I mean, Bob's helping for sure with some of this stuff. I think he's got like he does like maybe 10 hours a month or something. So
Gotcha.
It's helpful for sure. I do recommend people like get a PR person or something if they want to like break into like some of the more like media driven stuff like magazines. It's just usually they have a lot of connects to that. Yeah. And even if they don't, I think it's just kind of like a cool point of contact for the other like industry non-tattooer stuff. Like it's getting weird anyway, but I would recommend PR people like for sure. Like maybe like a little bit if it's like within the budget and it feels like something you feel like will like help take it to the next level. Like local magazines and stuff. I think it's been helpful. Like I can't like necessarily say if it's like the like dollars per cents is like in like I don't know. Probably all it takes is like one tat to come in from that channel, and it's like pays for a couple months of doing it. So like it's I'm sure worth it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, what? So you failed. I don't know the timeline, but you made the move from California out to Texas, Austin area, right?
Yeah,
so did Bob help with that kind of transition as far as building a clientele?
I mean, yeah, he's from all kind of not clientele. Maybe he helped front run like some magazines. We got like some. We did like Texas Monthly, which was a pretty funny article. They ran like I didn't know it was big. So like, Texas Monthly is like massive in Texas. It's like the biggest publication in Texas. But like, Texas is like a country in itself. So like, I didn't know that was like. I'm kind of like, I don't ever know anything that we're doing. Like I just literally like show up, tattoo like 12 hours a day. 6 days a week, usually 5 maybe, and then that's like it's just like a literally conveyor belt of existence. It's like Groundhog's Day-ish, which is in a cool way, and also like. But like so, I had no idea what that publication was, right? And this is when I got the branch spot, which I don't know longer have. I sold it, but long story short. But they were like, this woman just met me, did a little article, interview. She was in the weed, like talking. So I was like fresh off of the like moving from California thing, and I was like super like just digging on California, just talking so much shit, being like 100% me, which is like dangerous for these kind of things sometimes. And I was just like saying hella out of pocket shit. I don't know if I said there was this like a bunch of like, like reptilian overlord. I was just like, I don't know, some like I don't know. I like called all of. I think I like blanketly called the entire state of California like a bunch of like satanic reptilian overlords or something. Like standard stuff I say. But then it was like the biggest publication, which honestly I think went over pretty well in Texas. So it was like fine. They're like, oh okay, yeah, he come on in.
Right, yeah. There are a ton of California transplants, especially in the Austin area, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? And like for better or for worse, like I've only been in like the shop is currently in Austin. I live about an hour outside Austin, in Wimberley, Texas. It's like a tiny little town. Town of 2,000. It's super safe, but yeah, it's like I don't know. I think like. For better or for worse, I mean, the population here is massive now, too. I mean, Austin is like top 11 largest city in the U.S., so it's like between San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and Austin, that's like 4 out of the top 11 most populated cities. So, like, I mean, it's booming population-wise. A lot of California transplants, for sure, especially in Austin. Like Houston, too, and Dallas, But, I don't know. Like, it's cool. You don't, like... I don't know. I feel like it's like they're so different and so similar. Like where I live, it basically feels like Healdsburg or Sonoma or something. If you're familiar with like the northern Bay Area of California, so it's like it's like very similar climate. It's a little hotter in the summer, but honestly, it gets pretty hot up there. I mean, it's not that different. And honestly, people-wise, it's not really that different in those areas. Like those more smaller rural communities are all very similar. And now the cities are super similar too. Like Austin and LA are basically the same place. One's just like has no beach, but has like cool little rivers. One is smaller, slightly less traffic, way cheaper. Kind of both like a vibe in their own right, and kind of not at the same time. I don't know, like everything's got pros and cons. It's cool, like
What I've spent a lot of time in Austin over the years, and it has really blown up from a tattoo standpoint. In fact, I wonder about like what that transition was like. Did you have a clientele sort of established, or does a good bit none? Yeah. Does your clientele travel mostly, or is it a lot of local?
I was going to say that like I did probably have some, but like I'd say maybe 7 out of 10 of my clients are flying in, let alone like driving from somewhere kind of close. So it's just easier to get to, like, I mean, I'm as centered in the U.S. as possible. I mean, I'm literally on, like, I mean, I talk about like longitude and latitude. Like the ranch was at this, and Wimberley in general is at the same latitude as Giza and the same longitude as Teotihuacan. So it aligns the two largest pyramidal structures on the planet. So it's like the pyramid itself and the ley line of the like latitude of the Giza is the literal like mean of Earth. So it's like the literal center point of the planet. So it's like arguably like technically could not be more centrally located. So it's like for me, I think that's why Austin makes sense to be a very popular tattoo destination. It's relatively affordable comparatively to like other cities that have like a significant population density. So it's like I think just from that metric alone, it's like it makes sense that a lot of tattooers moved here. It just makes sense to demographic of people getting tattooed, like young individuals with like a certain like lifestyle, I guess. It's like like leans into tattooing. I don't know what other city would be probably like up and coming in that kind of realm. I don't know.
Near me is Nashville. It's 2 hours from me, and that's
Chattanooga or Nashville or like yeah, something like that. That was on the table too. I've actually never been to Tennessee. It was like for sure kind of on the like docket of like where I might relocate. I was kind of just like yonder. I want to move to Costa Rica lightweight right now. But I think that's like I just like say stuff. So like I don't think I'm like I might at some point, but like. That might be like a few years out, or like it might be like a secondary place or something. But.
Yeah. The alignment, the longitude latitude alignment with pyramids with Giza, is that intentional or is that just happenstance?
Yo, that was not even intentional, which is crazy because that's like 100% my type of thing. So like, it's like weird enough that it would be like that Wimberley and I think Austin, but and like everything else in the U.S. on that parallel. So it's like. Would be on like the same line as Giza, which was like 29.9759, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know, it's like something like that. But, so like, yeah, everything on Earth along that parallel is in alignment to that. But the fact that but still it's weird because it is literally to the like 4th or 5th digit out here in Wimberley. But like, that it also aligns at the exact longitude as Teotihuacan. That's just crazy. I mean, because like that's like you triangulated in a way that doesn't really make sense. So it's like there's also a lot of other things with Wimberley that's kind of weird. So I definitely feel like auspiciously like it was like kind of like aligned, for better like for sure aligned. I don't know. It's kind of like the Sedona of Texas. It's kind of what I'm like how I feel about Wimberley. It's kind of like that vibe.
Yeah. Well, talk for a few minutes about your work, about your tattooing, kind of specifically. Did you always lean towards that sort of like
sacred geometry or geometry?
Yeah. Or did you come up in a more kind of traditional like? Did you draw like representational stuff? Like
absolutely. I started tattooing at like the quintessential street shop. It was like in Berkeley, California, like on the same street as the college campus. So it was like. The quintessential was called like the street was Telegraph Avenue. It was called Telegraph Tattoos. There was like Zebra, Industrial Strength, a lot of like old school but like very traditional walk-in style tattoo studios on that street. So that was like my whole like entryway for sure. Was like I got like it took me like maybe I don't know 2 or 3 years of like knocking on every door to try to get an apprenticeship, and then like I finally like the one shop. It was like it looks like if this, let me mop your floors. It was like, I don't know, man. It was like, when's the boss here? It's like, he's not here. Like, kept coming back type thing. And then eventually it was like, fuck it, dude. This dude just keeps coming. And it was when I started doing like some really like, I just tried to do some on my ankles and stuff. And then like showed him like, see, I did a tat. And he's like, yeah, just fuck, dude. I gotta let this kid like mop the floors because he's gonna just like show up doing like these shitty ass tats on himself. Like, this is like gonna be more of a headache, And then fuck, maybe he'll figure it out. He's like drawings like all right or whatever. So, dude, like, but no, dude, it was 100% like that. Like 2005. This was probably 2004, 2003, 4. So it was like that kind of like new school-ish, neo-traditional type of like inspired work. Probably mostly a little biomech in there after a year or two. like Nathan Kosteko did this one. I mean, I don't know if
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's like a biomed. And then this is like one of the ones the dude who like Tommy had a tat was like from that era. So like that's all probably gonna get covered up. Everything else is literally pretty much solid. Yeah, so it was like traditional American and stuff, and then traditional Japanese because in the Bay Area, and those are like super like were the most popular styles. Plus, at that point, like all your butterflies and roses and whatever, names and whatever script for days. But that was maybe I'd say I was always into the sacred geometry stuff, like from a younger age, just from like being really into like reading a lot and like just all of the like aliens and pyramids. It's just, I was always into that kind of thing, until I was like maybe 15. And probably even from skateboarding, there was like Alien Workshop. I mean, like all of that type of stuff. So then, once I really started getting into more like sacred geometry as a thing, that was probably maybe 2010 when people were like, I did a few of the pieces that were like, I did a couple sleeves and stuff that were like all black only, like dot work geometric stuff, and that just kind of hit. Like I did a hand, and then that one got on like, it was like on like Tattoo Now or something. Gabe, I know he was on here, like that was on like the thing, and then that like I went to the Paradise Tattoo Gathering, so I was like kind of like friends with them at that period of time.
Which ones did you go to? Did you
I went to one in Keystone, and I went to one in
Jiminy Peak.
But that was probably like 2013 or 11. I don't know. Time's kind of like
right.
But that was later. But so like, but I did a few pieces in that style, and that kind of just like hit. I don't know. It was like a sacred geometry, like inner arm sleeve type deal, and it was like when I did that one, it was like I started getting like requests for a style. It was like before it was just what the people wanted, right? So they would be like, I want like a rocket dude shooting through space. It would just be based on their like thing. It's just something. Every single one was completely different. Had nothing to do with my art. It was just like their concept, and then my art. I would just like try to do the best job at the project, but it had nothing really to do with like I had been doing art that was separate from that, but that was when it kind of like aligned. Where people were like, "Oh, I want like what you're doing on me." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sick." And that like just kind of clicked around probably for sure 2011, 2010, 2009, but like 2012 is when that I think really like catapulted. I was talking about this the other day where I think it was just based on the whole like honestly like Mayan calendar type of 2012 stuff that was like in the mass collective consciousness. People were talking about that and thinking about that, and there was like a lot of books and media, and all of those books kind of tied in yuga cycles and just things that were correlated so directly to like sacred geometry as a whole and that entire like ethos that it just was like it all kind of aligned again, and like that's when that kind of at that point. So it's been busy since then, 2012 to 2025 now. It's been like it's been just like that, with subtle ebbs and flows, but like
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I wanted to take a quick minute to thank our newest partner, our newest sponsor. I'm excited to introduce you to Tattoo Trunk. Have you heard of them? So Tattoo Trunk is a tattooer-owned, tattooer-founded, modular, portable tattoo station, tattoo setup. And if you're a traveling tattooer, you should definitely listen to what I'm saying. I personally believe that my tattoo setup is vital to a successful and efficient tattoo session. So in my home studio, everything is set up in a particular way, and it's always that way for every single tattoo. But when I've tattooed at conventions or doing guest spots at other shops, I always feel a little discombobulated and out of place. My stuff just isn't where it's supposed to be, and it kind of throws me off and takes me a little longer to adjust to the tattooing process. Well, Tattoo Trunk has solved that problem. This modular system is completely customizable. It folds in and collapses on itself to be stored neatly inside of a backpack, and then locks together in different configurations based on your needs. If you need to hold 1 ounce to 2 ounce to 4 ounce inks, different drawer systems to hold machines, cartridges, and other supplies, a bin to hold dental bibs. These guys have basically thought of it all. And as a special little bonus for Fireside viewers, subscribers, listeners, if you enter the promo code Fireside at checkout, you will get an extra 10% off of their trio or quad bundles. So like I said, if you're a traveling tattooer or just want to clean up your station, have something that's a little more put together, check out tattootrunk.com. You will find links to Tattoo Trunk somewhere around here, definitely in the description below and maybe even on the screen. Thank you to Tattoo Trunk. Thank you to you guys for supporting what we do. Let's get back to the episode.
What were some of the because you've been doing that almost exclusively for over a decade now, I guess. What were some of the real kind of learning experiences in that? I know personally, like I love the look of sacred geometry or just of symmetry and all of that. I despise tattooing it though. Like I can't stand to try. It stresses me out. I don't like to stencil it. I don't like to worry about matching the side.
Stenciling's a pain. I got that. I do like a lot of stencil stuff. It's a lot of just trial and error, and a lot of trial and error. You know, like I mean, now there's like I'll have like a system sort of at times. You know, but like so much of it was just like trial by fire. I'd say my entire career was pretty much trial by fire. I've definitely taught some people how to tattoo occasionally. You know, and had apprentices, and it's funny like. Now I can be like so much more regimented. Like, oh, you should definitely do that before you do that, before you do that. But like in hindsight, you know, so like looking back, it like makes sense. You're like, oh well, yeah, don't like. I went the opposite way, kind of like I was doing like only color or trying to really get color blending portrait stuff, you know, and really trying to unpack that. And then so for me, it was kind of like focusing on the fundamentals, like remove all of that stuff. And like, oh, you guys like that and like more? I'm like, sick. You know, like that was like way more chill. I'm like, honestly, so like besides the like design aspects, which are their own like whole pain in the ass in general, you know, it's like, but I don't know. I definitely feel like I'm like artistically masochistic to some point where it's like, I don't know. I'm really competitive, so like, I want it to be like it's booby traps. So like, I kind of want to do work that like lightweight. If someone does something similar, they'll like suffer, if that makes sense. Like, it's like a booby trap. It's like, okay, like I want it to be so stressful and painful to do that, like if someone's going to try to make their whole career of like something very similar, which there's a lot of people that are doing, you know, and it's like, they're fucking good at it. So I don't know. I didn't work that good. I thought it was like more booby trapped. I got to make my shit harder, bro. But like, I really was trying to make it like kind of hard. Like I was like, okay, what would be like the most stressful shit for me to do? Because then like, it kind of could be booby trapped, like some Indiana Jones like reverse, where people would just be like, "Oh fuck this dude," the stencil smearing on their face, and I'm kind of imagining like this, like someone else trying to do it, and then just like having such a hard time and being like, "Fuck that dude," but like, you know, so kind of like I don't know, I guess it's like a competitive, like I just like enjoy that, even if it's like I don't know anyone actually who's like struggling that hard with it or anything. You know? So like I'm glad it's hard. You know? Like I'm like, oh, sick, okay.
Well, you know, it's you were talking about trying to color blends and all these problems within tattooing, but the one thing about what you're doing now, I'll compare it with like the way that I tattoo, being kind of more illustrative, like lines. Everything's multi-session, so line work doesn't really matter for the first 2 or 3 sessions. I can deal with it as time.
Up in layers. Like
everything happens in layers, so there's very little pressure on me at any point in the tattoo.
So like, I actually work more similarly to that than I think people probably think. So like, I can like go through and like gray line a whole area, or like dots. Like you can just dot out. Like I'll like go through and like basically dot out a whole sleeve, and then I'll come in and like fill in the dots. And then like, you know, if it, like some areas I'll like gray line quickly, or like it's pretty much like, honestly, it's not that. I approach it very similar because I came from more of like a like oil painting type of background to it. So like, I went to a bunch of like Nick Baxter seminars, or like, you know, Hurtado seminars, or like Guy Aitchison stuff, and I went to his like. So I went like reinventing the tattoo was like kind of how I like taught myself how to tattoo. I had an apprenticeship, but I wanted to do more stuff, like in different stuff than they did. So like I pretty much taught myself lightweight at the shop from like reinventing the tattoo. Like that book pretty much like taught me how to tattoo. I feel like the little like using a 3 to, and honestly, I think I didn't figure that out. I didn't figure out how impactful that book was to my career until way later, like now. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. Like, I don't really fill it up in little circles like that, but I'll like maybe like double line it and then fill it in, or like I'll like line once and then line again next to it or something, like, which is funny because like you kind of remember where you learned those things. Like, so it's like I remember hearing the dude at Zebra when he did bold lines. I don't remember that dude's name, but it's like old dude there, like, and he would like line it and then line it next to it, and I was like, huh. And I was like, I don't know, like, because I was always like, oh, use like a 14 or something. And then all the old dudes would be like, nah, like you almost never use one of those. I'm like, yeah, but it's so efficient, kind of. It's like one, you know. And they're like, No, I usually like a 7 and like line in and like line next to it's gonna like be like it'll heal better probably and be like faster and like kind of more efficient and like blacker and like you kind of like I don't know. I feel like I was just like if I would have just listened more like to the old dudes like out the gate, I would have been like way like it would have made it way easier to tell you the truth. For me, like I tried to do it way crazy, which is probably good and to some extent because it's like there's a lot of stuff that don't like layering super powdery soft shading or something is in a way like totally different, you know, or like great lighting or blood lighting or something, and then coming back and then like shading stuff in layered and like soft, like building things up, which is definitely different than that. But I guess it's a unification of all of those like different artistic mediums and like just listening to other people.
Yeah.
They do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because like, you know, I see a lot of, you know, a lot of geometry. And I think one thing that can happen with it, and I know you're combining a lot of different patterns. So it's not just one simple series of shapes that all relate to each other, but you're actually having to think about combining and moving over different planes of the body with the large scale stuff. And I you know, one thing that can tend to happen with it is it gets very dense and heavy and you don't know what to look at. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, so with the way you're talking with some of these different approaches, like just recognizing, okay, this big chunk of shapes needs to be dark, but I need something maybe a little more open or lighter. Do you think of it the same sort of way you would about any subject matter?
Identically, you know. So yeah, I would say that I would say one of the probably like I don't know things that is slightly different about like some of my pieces than like other people doing it is that the background of coming through like trying to do a lot of realism stuff and trying to do a lot of illustrative stuff. I guess kind of just taps into that like Jeff Begway seminar probably hits like the nail on the head with that, where it was like the different contrasts there's like textural contrast or value contrast or shape contrast or like flow contrast, like where like you could have curvy bits but then angular bits, and then that would be like a shape based contrast, or texture like dots are like all textural and skin is negative, so it's like a textural contrast. So I guess that when you think of it as like lots of different kinds of contrast, what you're describing is like a value-based contrast, right? Where it's like if you do like a dark foreground and a light background, that's like a super like painterly way to approach stuff, or vice versa. You could do like a really like soft light foreground, but then like have like structured elements behind it, like maybe even cutting through it, like negative. So yeah, I mean it is like just like a well-rounded approach to just like artistry and like mediumship, I guess, you know, like in playing around with sculptures or playing around, which I've done like metalworks, sculptures, oil paintings. Like I don't know, there's a lot of aspects of all of them that there's a lot of overlap and a lot of like they share a lot of like understanding, but then there's a lot of learning that you're like, oh, like now my process is way closer to probably graphic design because I've been doing that so long, where like the whole digital realm, so I'll design things and I'll kind of think in layers, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, well, like the composition is going to be built by layers, so I'm almost like thinking like Photoshop, where I'm like, okay, well, this is the top layer, and then if I do a sleeve, I have to do everything that's the highest layer first, which is kind of like intuitive to some kind of art where you're like, oh, well, like you're going to have stuff come over, so if you're going to have anything come over the top, that has to go first. So it's like whatever is going to be like top layer has to be first, and then you can have anything infinitely layer underneath it. But if you want it to be like super like I don't know, dynamic, you have to like take that into account and have elements like cut in the foreground in negative space that might be interoperable with the stuff behind or later. That's where it gets kind of confusing, or like, but I guess I just currently pretty much approach all my pieces like Photoshop compositions, because that's kind of how I'm getting to them now. Where I'll design them independently using like my app mostly, and like different other geometrical kind of apps that just allow you to play around with symmetry tools. So it's like I'll design elements in those programs, and then I will compose them in Photoshop, where I'm just putting like a string of them or duplicating them and stuff like that. So it's most closest to graphic design now. I mean, that's like pretty much all I do is pretty much. Yeah. I don't literally like. I was like looking for a pencil. I don't know, it was a pencil.
Mm-hmm. You know. I was looking just before we got started. I was looking on your website, and you had some wanna-dos, like just a lot of like layouts, designs.
On the co-create thing, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But I wonder, like, do you end up having to manipulate those quite a bit based on where they end up or on the person that they end up on? So those are just loose ideas that you're typically not tattooing as they appear.
Yeah, they're really kind of sectional. I think the stuff that was on Co-Create was sort of, I had like a project, I have a kind of ongoing project with them where it's like, I basically it's kind of like a, I don't know, like, what do you call it, like a, I don't know, but it's like sort of like just like a ambassador program, I guess is the best word.
Okay.
But it's like where I basically had to do like release a bunch of designs that were kind of almost like digital prints. So those were like sort of, I designed those to almost be like a digital print or an NFT or like, they just were kind of like an itemizable piece of art, like that I could have like sort of like, and they could be tattooable to some capacity, which would be, I have tattooed a bunch of those where it's like, I might use like the center mandala of one massively on a leg and then like, again, cut something else into it or drop some more patterns over it. So yeah, they're all just like ingredients. I guess the best way to think of like a lot of what I do is like, it's like just being like a chef or something and having a bunch of ingredients. So like I'll like pre-cut a bunch of like, you know, vegetables or like, you know, I'll let the steaks thaw out, you know, have a few of them ready and then resting. And, you know, so I guess my process is closer to like cooking now where I'll just like pre-plan a bunch of elements that I know that I can combine to make like a dish, you know, but it's like they're all like the similar elements. So like, you know, it's like everything will be relatively complementary. You know, it's like I'll have like 100 repetitive patterns I made. And then I'll have like 100 mandalas I made. And then I won't like reuse them, but I'll like be like, okay, like it's like a combination of like this one and that one. Okay. And like just talking to people and kind of figuring out what they want. Because a lot of my clients, they are really open, almost sometimes too open though. It's like, oh yeah, I'm down for whatever. And I'm like, okay, like that gets me into the sort of like, well, why do you want to get tattooed? What's the meaning behind it? Because then I can kind of like design something specifically based on that, or pull some stuff that has like its own kind of representational like bias and kind of fit it to them in that way, you know. But that's basically how I approach it.
Gotcha. I was going to ask. It's funny you went that direction. I was going to ask that. I don't know a lot about the particular elements of sacred geometry. Like, for example, when I think of like Polynesian tattooing, I didn't know a lot about the elements, but learning, you know, from folks who do that, there are, you know, each type of character is you know, a shark's tooth means a thing, or a tortoiseshell means a thing, or whatever. Which
actually I'm very unfamiliar with of all of them, which is kind of odd, but I guess because it's like, I felt like there was always so many people who were very knowledgeable about it, and I didn't want to really like do that much because I felt like it was so culturally tied to like the just like overall like social like persona of Hawaii that I had a property in Hawaii. Like I'm super connected to Hawaii like personally, but yeah, anyway, so like that's like probably one of my like least knowledge based of all of the like anthropological stuff that I like. I'm like super nerd on like a lot of anthropology stuff, but it's way more of like I guess from like a I don't know, like Egypt and like sort of like a Sumerian kind of stuff, you know. They're just like more into like from that perspective. So I actually am pretty unknowledgeable about a lot of the like Polynesian stuff.
Yeah, same here. But I was thinking about trying to relate it to the sacred geometry, and I was wondering like if your clients, if a lot of them were super educated in it and knew the types of designs that they were looking for.
Like half and half. You know, like sometimes they will be like they'll specifically want like a flower life or a Metatron's cube. A lot of Metatron's cubes. Lots of Metatron's cubes. Like the amount of Metatron's cubes I've had is like crazy. I don't know. They keep asking me for them. But
what do they represent? I'm sure I've seen them. I know what they are.
It's kind of interesting too because it's kind of like it's like most of them are kind of easy to get to the like what does it actually mean. But like Metatron's cubes is kind of like there's a lot of interpretive kind of ideas. Like so it's the one that holds like all the other platonic solids in it. So it's a combination of all the platonic solids, which is like one way to look at it. It's also sort of the one where it's like the culmination of like the flower of life because you have like the seed of life, the fruit of life, the flower of life, the fruit of life. There's also a tree of life. And then it's like the Metatron's cube is like if you connected all the intersecting intersecting central points. It creates like a line-based pattern over the circles. The circles alone are like the fruit of life. I'll probably be doing something like that this week because I know my client is super inspired by that. So it's like, anyway, so the 13 circles are kind of like, but then I'm kind of unpacking that. I personally think 12 around 1 is such a classic motif. It's also such a like clear indication of like the zodiac too, because it's like that's like the whole like astro, like there's 12 around 1. That is the zodiac. So it's like 12 celestial bodies around one perspective, and it also typically the concept of Metatron comes from the Book of Enoch, where like the archangel Metatron, like Enoch gets raised to heaven, and then he sees all of Earth from the perspective of an angel, and then he gets like transmuted into archangel Metatron. So like that's like where it comes from like a I don't know, like from like the Book of Enoch. So like now that's where the name or like that comes from, but then I have never really been able to put together where that gets into with like Plato's description of like the Platonic solids or anything, or like if there was like a earlier maybe like, I don't know, Greco-Roman kind of like connotation to that. Like I don't really know. Honestly, I think it's probably tying together some like zodiac or like mostly like astrotheological point, because that's really what a lot of most symbols at their most like origin form are astrotheological, or like astrology symbols basically, and tying all of those together. Like, like this, like the 6-pointed star is literally a trine and another trine. And like those are literally just astrological symbols. So it's like it's a 120 degrees and 240 degrees of the zodiac. So the zodiac is 360 degrees. That gives you like the basis for like I don't know, like most cosmology. And then that's just like divisions of the circle. So you have like the whole like where a square and a triangle and a circle meet. That's like the Philosopher's Stone. But like I don't even know if actually like I don't know. That's like what that's so like that mathematically is the Philosopher's Stone, because that shows like how all reality meets essentially. But and that would be 360 degrees, 90 degrees as a square, which is so it's like 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and then 120 and 240 is the two trines. Anyway, so like most things could be just kind of broken down into astrotheology, but yeah, I don't know how much they know about it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, that's like all I do is try to figure this stuff out. And I think there's I would say there's just a tremendous varying degree of how much they're all pretty nerds about a lot of it. And a lot of it's just psychedelics. I feel like they're just like super like into like that. And so like a lot of them come to me after like an experience. Like I've actually never done ayahuasca, which is kind of funny because like I'd say like half of my clients do like a crazy ayahuasca experience and then come to me and like want me to like tattoo that.
Interesting,
that's like 50% of them, I feel like. Which is cool. I kind of feel like I probably should at some point. Yeah. I've had varying degrees of feeling drawn to it and then not feeling drawn to it. I don't know. Yeah,
same here. I've been curious about it for a long time, but have never pulled the trigger. How much within a lot of the math of geometry when you're, I guess you're representing a lot of similar ideas, kind of over and over. How much freedom do you have to create like something unique, but using that like core? I mean, is it super restrictive, or do you end up, or can you get pretty free with?
I feel like I can get it depends how like correlated we want, right? So like most of the stuff I do, I would say is more symbolic than like anything. So it's like a lot of them are just like radial patterns. And a lot of them are just like repetitive patterns. Not necessarily just, but I feel like it kind of sums it up. Like I've always kind of enjoyed the Alan Watts quote, which is like, if you get the message, hang up the phone. Like that's one of my favorite quotes of his. And it's like, it applies to psychedelics specifically, but I also feel like it applies to a lot of this stuff where it's like, there's a million ways you can say the same thing, but it's like, yeah, so it's like, I feel like I'm just saying the same thing in a million ways. Like every single day I'm kind of saying the same thing. If they were like, what does this mean? I'm like, well, a mandala means circle in Sanskrit, so it's representative, but could be extremely like simple or limiting, or extremely expansive and like expansive. So it's like I would say that I take that as like the microcosm, macrocosm. So it's like both at the same time, and that's kind of the fun part about it. My personal philosophy is essentially like the spherical nature of reality. Like all things are sort of wheels within wheels. Like our eyes are spheres, like experiencing spheres, and they're even actually in the shape of a Vesica Pisces, which is the like sort of like oval diamond shape that is with an overlap of two circles if they're equally overlaid. That space between them is called the vesica Pisces, which is literally the shape of our eyes. So it's just fascinating how much of it is it's all wheels within wheels. We're just on a big old sphere, unless people think the planet's a turtle. Who knows what? Well, I don't know, bro. But from the idea, my thesis is that you have the atomic structure is all like spheres within spheres, spheres with spheres rotating around spheres. So it's like not only are they spheres, but they're exhibiting circular behavior also, or like spherical spiraling behavior. So it's circles interacting in circle-like behavior on the smallest scale, like microscopic atoms, and at the largest scale, like planets and orbits and solar systems and cosmos. So for me, it's really just like circles. It's like so I'll basically spend a lot of time talking about just like circles, and then I'll spend a lot of time talking about like big triangles. So it's like, I don't know, maybe sometimes it feels kind of simple where I feel like I have a 7-year-old, and like a lot of stuff they're doing with school, I'm kind of like, hell yeah, circle, tight, important. Hell yeah, triangle, that's what's up. And you see them thinking these things are so trivial, and and it's just interesting coming back at different levels of consciousness. But you could spend a lifetime unpacking a sphere, or a cube, and then you got the quantum cube, the Saturn cube. You're like, oh, dude, you could just talk about cubes, which sounds just like crazy. And then I'm just like, I don't know. It's just sometimes I'm like, I could have just maybe gone crazy. So,
yeah. And then and then you. It's one thing to be fascinated with shapes and relationships of shapes, in that way, but then to have to apply it to the imperfect surfaces of a body. I think of being a perfectionist and wanting to nail shapes and spheres, and then you're like, man, it doesn't matter how much you nail it, you wrap it on somebody's deltoid, and it's you have a whole different set of problems.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's comes into the whole concept of anatomy and just keeping a lot of similar rules. I have a lot of personal composition rules where I'll place things in 4 primary visual planes. So I for an arm. So I break an arm down into 4 primary visual planes. The forearm and the axes of that is 1. And then the internal row is 1, and then the resting state outer is a single plane, and then the elbow zone. So I kind of dissect an arm into 4 primary visual planes, and then I just make sure to kind of put central axes on any of those 4. And as long as it's you're looking at them from 4 natural viewing states, what time is it? Okay, it's your external plane, or you're showing someone the tattoo or reaching something. It's the client pose is always oh, check out my tat, kind of that's the forearm pose, and then there's the shredded pose, so I don't know, I think it's you got, as long as you put a focus point, a central axis at those planes, and then as long as you basically take into account the delt and any of the more diagonal zones, then it's then I just kind of run either a negative space or a repeating pattern or a flow, either, which is interesting. So it's either anti-flow or flow in those spaces, but they seem to work the same. So as long as you put sort of a central figure motif in the sort of 4 quadrants, and then you put and then you kind of consider the rest of the arm to be a ribbon. That usually kind of handles most of the composition elements. And there's different tricks like that with the rest of the body too. It's necks are kind of the same thing. It's the whole thing is sort of just a torus. So it's a tube torus essentially. So if you take a tube torus and you kind of cut it out, fillet it, you get these kind of just I don't even know what those are. It's it's half of the torus. It's a squished tube, So it's you kind of just have 2 of those, and then if you have the side ones, you can kind of just it's more rectilinear. Or diamonds kind of work there too, really pretty well. But yeah, after doing enough shapes on bodies, you kind of know, unless they're specifically have a lot of input, that you can kind of run a similar theme. And sometimes it's not even I've never even really thought about that. I'll have kind of a predisposition to a pattern or something. But after doing it enough, you're kind of yeah, there's it's just trying to make it match the body in the way it's going to warp and wrap. And that comes into too placing these things on the body, like I'll just make a lot of little cuts, like a ton of little cuts in the paper, so that there's like relief cuts. So like I just do that, and then like it usually, and then a lot of drawing on, like a lot more drawing on the skin than people probably think. Yeah. But I'd say that takes up about 20 to 30% of like my stuff is like drawing it on,
Really?
Like at least. So it's like sometimes I'll do a whole sleeve and I'll just draw everything on, and then I'll place in a mandala or two or like pattern. Say it's like Kuan Yin, and she's got like a robe. I'll probably draw most of that on, and then like I'll outline all that, and then I'll place like patterns on the robe like later, so it's like it's a lot of layers, it's a lot of stuff like typical kind of like more illustrative basis work.
Yeah, it sounds really similar to the way that I think about large scale tattooing, and it's basically just trying to make sure that you have some place to direct the viewer's eye at every point. And I talk about that a lot with our tattoo club. With when my clients come in for a full day, they put their lunch in the refrigerator, they're going to the bathroom, whatever they're doing, I'm constantly just trying to glance at the tattoo in its current state and just go like, what's not working? What's working?
I always
great.
chase them in a circle, you know what I mean? While I'm like trying to look at it, and they're like trying to like look at you. I'm like, no, I'm trying to look at your like back, chill. like literally, no. Like it probably looks crazy and like from an outside perspective, like.
I know it's awkward to them. I feel the same. I feel the same thing. I feel like they're constantly trying to like engage me. I'm like, no, I'm not trying. Like I'm trying to glance. I'm like, I don't want you to do
like in like passing. Like I want to see it like like in its natural resting spot or whatever. And then they're always just right up in the mirror, like
right.
They love that shit. I almost want to just not have a mirror at like one of the shots, like another studio, just no mirror. They'll be like. Like, cause like they just
what do I do?
Like most of them are just like 1 foot in front of it, like.
Right. Yeah.
What? Basically, as long as you make it look like dope in any type of like buff pose, dude, they'll be fun.
You're great. That's for sure. As far as technical application stuff, I noticed you've got your own. I don't know if you're building or but you've got your own direct drives.
Yeah, me and my friend Andrea, she does like a lot of jewelry manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
So like the whole process is just like us together on assembly and on like CAD and on like just measuring everything and then using them and then having individual pieces CNC'd and then us working on those pieces to make sure they're all interoperable. But we're doing we have direct drives mostly right now. Like that's the machine that we're doing. I just think it's super versatile. For me, doing like mostly dots, it's like the perfect thing for dots. Its starting voltage is like 0 to 0.2 volts. It's like it runs off no power. So it's like you can do any amount like powdery dots or like turn it up, and then you can run like a 50 mag on those things too. Like they're just like super powerful. And then I don't know, I use those with cartridges mostly, but they work really good with standard needles. Honestly, probably better for like lines sometimes. Everyone's kind of different with it. But yeah, I think people would be surprised how like versatile you can use like a direct drive. Like every single is like 90% just a direct drive. But like I'll use pens sometimes. I use a lot of coils, honestly, like a lot more. I feel like I'm kind of like I've been using them more because so few people are that I kind of feel like almost bad. Like I was just at Gods of Ink and it was like, bro, I mean, there were like 2 dudes using a coil. I mean, we're talking the most like OG, like those dudes were the ones talking the most shit, like all of them about this, like the whole time. So yeah, I literally was like, I gotta use a coil just to kind of be like, look at y'all. I used a pen like back in like 2000, like I used a stylus, which that was the first one. That was pre-Cheyenne pen. That was one of the guys who worked at Cheyenne who like basically, honestly, I did not like the stylus though. That one was like super vibrating. Like it was just your whole, because it was a direct drive basically in the motor. But that was the first one. And like, so I used that, like, and that was probably like the 3rd one of those. So like, if not like just, because I was always obsessed with like new tech. I was using Numas. I like those actually. You know, I like Carson a lot. I like the new ones, but I liked the air powered ones. I was super down for it. I mean, it made no sense with the air compressor, but like the concept is still so good. Like allowing like give and softness to be applied via air. It's such a cool, it's the best idea. It got so much hate. That shit's great. I wish he would actually like figure out a way to do it in a different way. But I like him a lot too. He's cool.
I don't think he gets the credit for the that he deserves for the transition to everything that we're doing now. That was such a different idea.
Yeah, and he's like on the same level with so much of this stuff too. He's a total tripper. I don't know. He's sick and absolutely so much of the machine stuff. And the new ones are cool too. I really like. He did a lot of fun stuff with that. It's such an interesting mechanism.
Yeah, the cam system sort of thing. It's really cool.
It's kind of, we're doing something similar with like the actual just shape of the cam. So like my cams are triangles. So it's like there's more weight wherever they like. It's like kind of like creates an exit, like a more force on the downward swing, like a little hammer kind of. They're trying to kind of play around with that a bit more too, and making like maybe another one so it's like extra counterweighted, but it doesn't. I mean, they're connected via a pairing, so that already is what's happening. So like you just, and it's completely direct, being that you just like open the needle bar and put the bar right on. So it's like there's no give at all with like from like the rubber grommets or anything. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, those are super cool. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, everyone's using. I like everything. I have like a million machines. It's like I try to hold them. I'm like definitely one of those. If it's not broke, break it, and then like try to fix it, and then fix it like worse, and then stop using it and get another one, and then break that one, and then actually like the other one. So that's kind of my style. Break everything.
Yeah. You mentioned that the ones you're building run on very low voltage. Do you stipple more like dot work, or are you doing more whipped stippling at low voltages like that?
So I do both, and it's just completely two different like techniques for two different like causes. So like if I'm filling in areas that are like negative space, where they're like say like a bunch of diamonds or triangles or whatever, and it's like I want them to retain like their pointillized aesthetic for longer and like into perpetuity to some capacity, depending how far away they're spaced. I do them dot by dot. But if I'm doing shading, like say it was like a leaf on a mandala, or like so like a cast overshadow, I'll just turn it super low and just like powdery, peppery shade that out. Same ways like I would do like sometimes you can do like portraits like that, which is kind of fun. I like to do a lot of my subject matter in that style so that it blends really well with the more like line work based stuff. I've been recently doing a lot of like not that though, just because I've done that for so long that I've been just doing a lot of like traditional powdery black and gray, because I just like I like to kind of reevaluate like and just do new stuff. So like now I've lately the past couple weeks been doing a lot of like super soft black and gray, just like straightforward black and gray shading with like mags. Just because I've traditionally never liked it as much as just doing the little fadey dot powdery stuff, just because it feels so much more in alignment with the like graphic nature of like my work, I'd say on average, which I just think photographs so much better, honestly. And that's really one of the bases, is that I just feel like the higher contrast photographs better. And I've been shooting photos for like longer than I've been tattooing. That's been like, I'm a second generation photographer. My dad was like a fashion photographer. So like, I'm like super obsessed with photography. And sometimes I kind of think of tattooing as like a lifelong photography project. Because at the end of it all, it's like I'll pretty much just have a book of photos. And they're photos of tattoos I did. But at the end of the day, they're photographs of subject and subject matter. And like, in all fairness, it's kind of like the tattooing was just like an artistic medium and an long-standing photo book, or like a photo project. So I like think of it as like, and it's like just like creating a powerful or impactful image. It's like you're going, the last step is to see it as a photograph. So like I'm super obsessed with photography, but
how do you from the client standpoint, how are you? I mean, a lot of your photos are the stuff that I see is dropped into grayscale, so I can't tell how much is healed and how much is fresh. Are you getting people to come back in town and do full kind of photo sessions after?
No, like almost never. But their pieces are so big that it's like I guess I kind of forget that. Like, well, like I don't know. I feel like you get it, and like a lot of other tattooers would get it, where it's like if it's a back piece, it's like gonna be 90% healed, or like 80% healed. You know what I mean? Like I guess, and like if it's a sleeve, it's like most of that's healed. Like if I have a photo, it's like I kind of want it to like be not like to where the photo kind of just like it just is seamless, because it's just like if there's like a section this big that's like in sepia tone and the rest is like healed, it's just gonna fucking make the photo look shit. But it's like, it's also like 90% of the image. If it's a sleeve, 90% of it's healed with how I work anyway, which is very modular. So like, yeah, if anyone's ever kind of worried like, oh, I wonder what his heel work look like, it's like, bro, like if it's a bodysuit, like
it's mostly healed.
90% of it's healed, dude. Like look at it, And it's like if people can't discern which ones, that's kind of good too. And I post stuff in color like occasionally too, to like, so it's like it is like uniform. But like if the reason I like black and white is just because I am gonna do a black and white like photo book. So it's like I have some of my cameras are like black and white only. It's like it just has a black and white sensor. So like sometimes like if I brought that to work, I like actually didn't like because like I did a project with Sarah Fable and she was like, oh hey, can you send me the like non-black and white photos? And I was like, oh, I only took black and white photos with my camera that day. Like there isn't one. She's like, oh, I don't want to post that this week. I'm like, all right, well then post it when it's done. It wasn't even done. So and that's kind of thing where it's like. They take so long, dude. This stuff takes forever. I don't know, like, I don't know if people sometimes realize, like, I'm using, like, a Type 3 for, like, 90% of my work, and it's, like, the whole piece, like, will be a Type 3. And I mean, like, a 0.06 or 0.08 Type 3. Like, it's like a human hair, and it's just, like, doing this. So, like, some of those, like, leg sleeve will be, like, 100 hours or something. So I'm like, oh, no, most of that is healed. There's probably, like, a little bit, like I'll do days where I get like that much, and then it's like if it's shading, I can do like that much. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, because sometimes I'll use like a 35 mag or whatever and do like a skull, and I'm like,
It feels super productive.
Or like flowers, I'm like, oh dude, yeah, throw some flowers in there, dude. I can outline like a sleeve of chrysanthemums and like all day. Or like I did a dragon piece recently, and I was like. Or like waves. I'm like, yo, this is sick, dude. I could just do a whole sleeve of waves. Like, let's go.
Right.
So yeah, it's just there's so much variety that sometimes it's hard for me to talk about like a specific thing because I'm just like imagining one of the pieces in my head that I did. Like, I usually try to just imagine something that was on my Instagram semi-recently, so that if someone else is looking at it, like they'll be like, oh, so it's like mostly what I'm referring to.
Yeah. I like that you brought up the photography aspect of it. I've got such a bad habit of just trying to photograph the tattoo and represent the tattoo as best I can, just and not thinking about the quality, like the photograph itself. And I think of someone like you or like Phibbs, who like his photograph, like he has such dynamic kind of poses, or like a sleeve where the person's arm is like pushed out towards you and it's like soft focus. And I'm like, man, I never even considered doing any of that stuff. I have good cameras. I should try.
And some of the stuff's super powerful. Like, me and Phibbs are super cool. Like, he's doing my leg. Speaking of waves, he's doing a bunch of waves. I'm going to do a guest spot at his spot in July, like, second week.
In San Diego?
San Diego, yeah.
I just did a podcast with one of his co-workers, Levi Hilton. Do you know him?
No,
really great guy.
I don't know anybody else over there.
Great tattooer, great guy.
Yeah, we were just me and him were just talking in Germany about that. We were always, like, trading camera, like, stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Like talking shit about like I don't really like I don't really like his camera that much. Like it's cool, like he really likes it. I really like his other ones, but he likes that one. But like we have like just different, like he's using a lot of Hasselblads, I'm using a lot of Leicas. It's just camera snob back and forth.
Right.
I'm just more baller. His is kind of more baller right now, but like where's this like? And then I'm like, oh no, I'm only using this point and shoot now, dude. You're just wasting all your time with that big thing, dude. But then, like, so we're just trolling, camera trolls. Super good. His photos are coming out fire lately. No, I don't do really, like, photo shoots after. Lately, they've been very candid, just, like, end of the session, best thing I can get. I'll get them some more photos later. And I kind of like that. It's somewhere in between storytelling and authentic, where it's like I just take a couple pictures at the end. I take maybe 10, 20 pictures at the end. In usually available light and like backlit a lot, like there's a window. A lot of nighttime photos indoors trash, the lighting's shit. It's like fluorescent or whatever. It's like incandescent technically because I switched all my bulbs out. But like outdoor, I really like just outdoor overcast or golden light. Like the best time of day is like I never get done during that time of day, but like 5, 6 golden hour, and then just like backlight them outside with a lot of distance behind them, throw some like cool like soft kind of like bokeh out there. But I mean I kind of tried to keep it always keep it a little different and switch it up. Lately, I've been kind of just using 35 millimeter mostly, which is a little less, compresses it a little less, and it's less dramatic. It's a little more like real. But I really like the like long, like 90 millimeter type of zone. 75. My favorite lens is a 75 millimeter 1.25. That's like fire, just buttery backgrounds. Super shallow depth of field, but you can like crank that down a bit, and like I just love the like high focus where you want it to be, and then just like full drop off, like that smooth out. Like I just think it looks like powerful, but then like soft and elegant. You know, that's like my favorite kind of aesthetic. You know.
Yeah. We've got a great camera rental, lens rental place here in town. They're a national brand, but I can literally drive to pick.
Yes.
Like I can order same day. You've got the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love it because I've never been before I started doing this podcast. I knew nothing about cameras, about any of it, and so I have a couple of just Sony A7s, and I went I'll rent lenses or rent lighting just to go on a trip. Yeah. So last Health City that I did, I rented like an 85 millimeter Sigma art lens, and just did like kind of rapid fire questions at people's booths. It was, I mean, it made it look like I really knew what I was doing. It's so beautiful.
It's powerful. You know, it's like, I think just now, I don't know, everything kind of starts looking the same when everything's on a phone. It kind of has like this sort of aesthetic that feels, I mean, it all feels lifelike. It just depends like how you want your life to feel. I don't know. It's like if you shoot it in a way that looks like a Martin Scorsese type of movie, you can kind of like look back and be like, yo, my life felt like that. You know, if you I don't know, I'm a sucker for the like, you look at an old photo of like Elvis or Frank Sinatra or any of these dudes, and they're in black and white and they look super fucking classy. And then you see like Snapchat, like, you know, right. Like some of the TikTok shit, it's like, I don't know, man. Do you want your grandkids to look at you and be like, that was my grandpa? Like, dude, I want them to be like, that dude looks sick. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of trying to go backwards sometimes. I
like that. Yeah.
I'm not very progressive, like, in any case. I mean, like, I'm like kind of regressive. I'm like, yo, I want to like pyramids are like, you know, 5,000 years old. I like that shit. You know? Like, why do we even have like power? I mean, like, yeah, but I say hella stupid shit where like obviously power is sick. But like, oh no, candlelight's a vibe, dude. Like acoustic instruments are a vibe. I like coils. I like shooting film too. Like I would love to be able to only shoot film and only publish a book. And you could only see the work if you like bought the book or just like somebody you know bought the book and then or you check it out in the fucking library. I don't know. Like that'd be hard, dude. I mean, that's literally how I saw tattoos for the first time. Is like Ed Hardy's Dragon book at the Berkeley Library. I took that shit out of the library and was tracing dragons. You know, like how many like internet like tattoo kids are going to the fucking library? Not that because you don't need to. You don't need to go to the fucking library. Right. But like I'm super grateful to like have had those experiences because it makes me really value that kind of stuff and like maybe just nostalgia or something. But like I don't know. I feel cool being able to be like fuck like. I was like the sort of the last couple years remnant of that type of like culture where like any dude older than me is like, well, yeah, no shit. That's how you fucking had to, if you even had a library. We didn't even have library. You know? like my town, the nearest library was like 2,000 miles away in Siberia. It was a tooth. Like, all right, fucking you win, bro. You win.
You win.
Hard, you know? I love that shit.
I like that juxtaposition though of the TikTok versus the classic photos of Sinatra. That's true, man. Like, how do you want to be remembered? That's an interesting way to think about it.
I don't know. Maybe it's morbid, but I think about that shit all the time. I'm like, especially having a kid. You know, like you kind of like, I don't know, and like having a kid and then having like you know my folks being old, having my grandparents not be here, and you kind of like think it's like what photos do I have of them? Like not that many, but like. I got some, or it's like, you know, it's like, and those photos are all black and white or like in color, but they're still film photos. So it's like this generation, it's so different with the like, you know, we've got like videos, a lot more video content, which is weird as in its own way. And just, I don't know, it's all cool. Like it's good. Like people like, I'm doing tech. Like I'm literally making an app. Like I do tech stuff. I design most of my stuff on the apps, on the computers. I'm on a computer. I'm talking across space and time right now. Like I have been on my phone literally all day today, like posting stuff, doing this, doing email. Like I literally I have like 1 to 2 days off, and it's like those days off I just like live on phones. So I think that's why I do romanticize like a world of like no technology. I'm like, oh, that'd be sick. Even though it's like it's just not productive, but maybe that's the best part about it. I don't know.
Right. No, I completely get it. And coming from, I'll be 50 next year, and I think about trying to still participate in, and get my work seen or get this podcast seen or any of those types of things. And whenever experts tell me what I need to be doing to make sure that I'm keeping up with algorithms or with whatever, like I just want to tune out so bad. I just want to say, I don't care. Like I'll do it. I'll record the podcast. We'll have a good conversation. And if 10 people see it, I don't care. Like I don't want to, but it's not true. I do care, but I want to. I'm right on that cusp of like I don't care to keep up with it.
And I think there's value in that though, because it's like you can really see a lot of stuff where people are keeping up with it, but it's like then your work looks a certain way though. So it's like like you'll have stuff where it's like I don't know, it's like they got dancing videos like
right.
Which just all look trash. Like I don't know, like. Yeah, I get it. Instagram's Vine now, basically. So it's like, it'll go more viral if it's like, but does it always? No. And so, like, that's not always going to translate to, like, money. So it's like, sometimes it's like, you get like, okay, so yeah, it's target audience. So target audience is all you need. So it's like, you just got to make sure that your target audience, you're like keeping them like engaged and like building off that. That way it's authentic to you, because if you just like try to like pivot, like if I were to pivot in that direction, like anyone following me is gonna be like, the fuck is this shit? Like this is all garbage. I don't want to follow like a, like if I start dancing, in the videos, they'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, But like, I also don't like, I don't know, I do talk a lot of shit in real life, so anyone who does know me, they'll be like, oh, this is perfect. This makes sense. No,
right.
But like, I don't know. I think it's just as long as you just stay true to you and just keep being authentic, that will just like. People who resonate on that same frequency will find you, and then they'll vibe, and it's like, yeah, it'll create an echo chamber, but like, so that's what you're trying to create. You're trying to have an echo chamber. Like you want people who like your work and want to keep getting your work and like what you're doing. You are trying to create an echo chamber.
Right.
Like,
right.
We're not trying to be like, I don't know, like you need people who like want to engage and listen to what the people on here are saying, and vice versa, and like keep it provocative enough to be enticing, but also like informative enough to like bring value. So as long as like we can bring value for like anyone potentially listening, then that's like enough, and that's the point of it. So like if you share in some of that value, then they're like, oh, that was sick, I want to watch again because there was value. So I think the basis is like, as long as there's sustenance and like value being made, it will like be spread. And then if it's empty and hollow and there's no sustenance, then it does get spread though due to an algorithm. But it's like, yo, okay, cool, like the AI fucking overlord likes that you like obeyed its like directive, and now it will share it to other people who want to obey the directive of the AI overlord. Like,
yeah. And then it really is ultimately like a false representation of me or this show or what would I.
Then you're just going down a tangent, being led to like dancing monkey syndrome. Like, okay, I am now obeying the AI robots, and I'm doing the things that like I don't know. And then what it'll happen is it'll just switch it, because there'll be so much of that content that no one will want that content, and everyone will be inundated by it. And the AI will be like, okay, cool. Now we're gonna actually start pitching like thoughtful, and like it'll pivot, and then it'll be like, oh, you stay true, and then you'll be like in the like thing or not, whatever it is. Talk shit to the other people who didn't go with the program and be like, yeah, we held out, bro. Homeless, whatever. Like, you'd be wrong. Don't take my advice.
I don't know either, but I completely agree with you that I think that like the idea that you have to put stuff out, consistently. And I just years ago I decided like if I don't have anything that I feel like is unique to say this week, I'm just not going to say anything. Like if I don't like, I'll just wait. And if
5 times a day,
right?
You post. You take a shit, you post. You
right.
shower, you post. You drive, you post. You selfie while driving.
Right.
And you record the whole thing, make a podcast. You have to put a TV show out, dude. You gotta have a TV show. By noon, you have to have made a show and posted it. And if you don't, then you're falling behind. Dude.
Falling behind. That's exactly the way that it comes across. And make sure you use the most popular trending audio.
9,000 hashtags, but like those are kind of old, so don't do those too much, but only a few. But like, and then like tag places that are like, you know, that you wouldn't go to, but that the people who might watch this will go to.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's like, I don't know, dude. Like, you just gotta live, and I think that is weird. I don't. You just have to. I think we just have to spend more time doing cool stuff, and then put that cool stuff out. And like, yo, I just posted something, and it got like no likes at all. So like, I don't know. It's like none though. Sometimes it's funny. You'll post something, and it'll be like, it'll crush, and you're like, okay, I did it, like it worked or whatever. And then you do something else, and it's like just does not work. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, yes, technically, if you like send out an email to everyone in your, like text everyone in your phone, be like, I'm gonna post something, like it. It's like you can brute force make it work. You could buy 1,000 phones and like make it yourself. Like you can brute force it, but like I don't know. This is just like about cultivating value to some capacity. Yeah. And then like even if that doesn't work, at least it's like there's like you're like intent. It's like there's an intentional, authentic, like value based, like. At least you're trying to produce value instead of just like, how can I go viral? I'm going to just do informative content this week because informative content goes viral. And I'm like, okay, well, so everyone's just teaching everyone how to tag via their Instagrams. And then the algorithm is just feeding that to people who are doing tags. So it's just a dumb echo chamber. It's it can be helpful. Like if this video, we like talk about what's like actually fundamentally valuable aspects of technique, stenciling, design, machines, and then tattooers saw that would be sick and it would make sense. But they'll promote it to like people who are like following because they want to get a tattoo, and then they're just listening to it being like, what are they? You know, it's like you gotta just kind of like all the target audience is the key. So that's why I make the conversation be based off of like what like maybe your target audience would be, so it's like sort of relevant instead of just talking about like who knows, something else completely off topic, and then it's just like it just gets lost,
I think you hit the nail on the head about the idea of just doing something that's useful. I always say I like to solve interesting problems. Like it has to be like the conversation has to be interesting enough to me, regardless if it's interesting to the viewers. If it's not that interesting to me, then I'm less likely to want to do another one. If I'm just doing it because I feel like I'm obligated for the Fireside audience or whatever, then it's like, well, that only will last for so long, and then it's like those aren't. I mean, I don't even know those people that well, So.
Yeah, totally. And we're like, who, or like, what is it? And like, and it's like, how does it break out? I mean, like, honestly, even though it is kind of like, I don't know, it's a tough one though, because like, how to make things go viral is just like super like has to just be clickbaity, like out of pocket, ridiculous stuff, and then it's like it garners attention, but like attention alone is relatively useless. Like I've been on TMZ. You know how many clients I got from like being on TMZ like 5 times? I've been on Entertainment Tonight, TMZ, Men's Health. Bro, no clients are coming from TMZ. Or like, and like that one of those things got like 55 million views. It's like, I don't think one person was like, bro, I saw you on TMZ. They said that the tattoo you did on Usher was like a demonic sigil. I was like, the fuck is like the least? I'm like, I was just at Catholic baptism, bro. Calm down. I'm like 0% on some demon shit. So like, it's just hilarious when people like my point is like virility or like viralness does not translate to like value for you or for them. It's like you can get 1 million views on something and you might not monetize that at all. And it's like typically that's the point of a lot of that is either to like collect some form of like energetic backwards like motion, a perpetual motion machine is all we're kind of trying to do is like, I love the, on a totally like sort of off topic, I mean, I just love the podcast format for tattooing now that's kind of like becoming like more in swing because you have such a massive like just creative network who like are typically kind of shy or like so visually oriented. So it's kind of been just a little fun to just like throw everybody into the fire, like see people's personalities and like, I kind of like it now. I'm like, I want to do more of them. Just to, I mean, I talk shit the entire time I'm tattooing, so it's great to just like like prospective clients, go, oh shit, no, I'm not getting tatted by that. That's fucking the work, no. But like, it's nice to like fully just like unleash now where everyone's talking. It's good. It's a little more fun in a lot of ways, and it's like I think it's going to translate into something much larger for the tattooing world because it's been interesting, you know. There's no secondary market for tattooing, and I don't know if anyone really figured this out. I mean, obviously people have, but like that's one of the biggest limiting factors of tattooing as a fine art, right? Fine art can yield numbers that are obscene because, well, for a few things, wash trading, monitoring, traffic, whoever knows what they're doing, but like, you know, crazy speculation. But like the fact that you can sell a painting for like $100 million. Like there's never been something like that in tattooing, right? Tattooing is very much like the people's art form, which is great. But I do think that it's kind of interesting with like this type of stuff that there's just different avenues for the industry to expand. And I think it's going to change a lot of it in a good way. You know, I think it's kind of a fun time for tattooing. I think it's a weird time. It's definitely been a lot of saturation. I hear like a lot of people, that's like what a lot of people are talking about, just like so many irons in the fire kind of thing. And which has both, like, it has its benefits and it has its like drawbacks. And it's kind of interesting to just navigate that because it has changed and it has gotten so much bigger. There's just like so many more bodies in the room now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. From the podcast standpoint, it's been interesting that we're 12 years in now with Fireside. We started in 2013, and just the conversations, what people were willing to talk about in 2013, 14, 15 on camera versus what they're willing to talk about now, you know, completely different. The information age was so new and tattooing was so protected in 2013. When we started, we had a lot of kind of hate over just having regular conversations. I certainly could have never asked you about what needle configurations you were using or stenciling or any of that.
Funny is like how even when like, because I'm like a byproduct of that like bygone era too, that like some stuff it does feel funny to be like, oh, I'm just gonna like tell you how I do it because it doesn't really matter anyway. Everyone's doing shit, but like because I typically would be like so gate. I'm like I love gatekeeping shit. I think everyone should have gatekept everything. Like I'm 100% like nobody should have told nobody nothing. Those old things were right. We should have put the sandwich bag, the paper bags over every client's head. That shit, I've never seen that happen, but I've heard those stories. I don't know if they're ever real, but that shit was so fire. You ever hear that?
I've never heard that.
It was. Someone told me like, I don't know. I used to go hang out at Chuck Eldridge was in Berkeley, and he worked right down the street from the spot I apprenticed at. And he was the guy who had the tattoo museum. So I would go in there when I first started, and like I was like 17. I was just like, "What's up, dude?" And he would just tell me shit. I think he was the one who told me that. He was like, "Oh yeah, back in the day, you put if someone asked you like what machine you used, you put a paper bag
so you couldn't see anything you were doing.
You couldn't see what machine it was. I was like, yo, like I like actually forgot about that story until right now. I tell everybody everything. I have like zero filter and I'm like super open about stuff. But I don't know if it was like for the best for like the whole industry. I mean, like maybe it would have been like, you know, I don't know. It's like, that's a debatable subject too. I sell machines and like I'm making an app that allows people to do geometry and make it easier. So I'm totally like, you got to sell shovels to some capacity, you know, like at the end of the day, it's like, you also got to pick what shovels, you know, I don't know. I go through that dichotomy all the time where I'm kind of like, cartridge seems like super efficient, kind of easy, kind of like nice, very like super easy for like traveling, it's like pretty great. But then you're like, but like, you know, cool, tough, real, cool, sick. Like I don't know, like I literally have like such a and like I don't know why personally. I think more within recently, I've been more drawn to some of the like I've been like more drawn to traditional aspects. The less it's common. I'm a contrarian. Like the less people are like doing that, the more I want to do it. You know, so it's like lately I'm into it. So yeah, I kind of like. I think it is important that we do both. You know, and it's I think it's like there's value in both of them. Sharing is obviously valuable. Like. No one would have got anywhere if no one didn't share it to somebody, you know. I remember when I first learned that there were apps to do this stuff. Like that there were symmetry based tools at all. Like you could like have a polar grid digitally, you know. And this was like around when I was like I worked at Russ Abbott's spot, and you know he had like he had a
Clip Studio and all that. Yeah,
a Wacom tablet, and then like I was like, oh, that's pretty sick, you know, like. And then like I remember I worked at Invisible. The first job I worked at in New York was Invisible, and that's like arguably such a like, you know, old school kind of attitude shop, and that shop was so cool. But like I remember Regino was like, "You're doing all that by hand, bro? Like, you know, there's like an app for that." I was like, "I do not know that. Tell me this app."
Right.
You know? And like I literally bring that up all the time if I can, if I ever remember, because it's like I want to like throw him like a constant shout out that was like such a game changer. I was like, I was literally folding the paper, you know, like 18 times, drawing one little like pie slice mandala, and then folding in, tracing it, folding in, tracing it. It was like basically just being in kindergarten making those snowflakes.
Right.
Literally, I feel like I do though. I have like full 100% like imposter syndrome. So like I literally, like I said, I have like my son's 7, you know, and he's like in first grade, you know, he's like doing stuff like that, you know, and I'm like, that's pretty much all I do, bro. Like
you nailed it.
just stop here, you know. Like I was talking to my mom last night or the night before, and she brought up that I told her I didn't need to learn how to read because I was going to be an artist. And then we were talking about, I was like, I probably could have gotten away with the not reading part. I do a lot of reading. I am, in fact, literate, at least a little bit. And like, still finally. But like, it was kind of funny being like, she was like, yeah, I mean, I was like, I wonder if I could have.
Could have gotten through. And there are audiobooks now.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I go to Japan, and when I go to Japan, I'm there for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I can't technically read anything. You know, like, so like, in all fairness, I probably would have been fine, you know. I just would have moved to another country, so it wouldn't have seemed as bad. But like, you just no reading. Yeah. So actually, not only am I like such a regressionist, you know, I think we should stop reading. You know, we should just like build pyramid, only stone, no metal, no glass, hand poke. Maybe a coil. Coil's kind of futuristic though, with all that electricity nonsense.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, basically, I just do snowflakes, you know.
Yeah. It's a good way. That's a good way to look at it.
Basically,
Talking about, and I'll wrap it here in just a minute. We're about an hour and a half in, so I'll wrap it. I want to mention you were talking about Russ. I remember him trying to work in Google SketchUp, like the app for like the free app for building, for like designing furniture or designing buildings. That, and he was like, "Oh, look, you could like do this and then turn it from the, you know, to the top, and it looks like it's like cubes in perspective." And he was like, "I think I could like build tattoos out of this." It's like, oh, it's not at all what it's meant for. But that's super cool.
Yeah, it's super fun, dude. That shit is sick. I liked all of his like perspective mandalas he was doing for a while. Still doing those. It's like it was super like. Sometimes I feel like it's funny how like some of the art is so like next level, and it gets not like there. That is a really like kind of interesting topic, because it's like, what is like a sellable tattoo to like a client, and then like the progression of art into the future of, you know, so like that's always kind of like a fun balance and dichotomy too, right? Where it's like you'll see someone like John Boy, who is like, I like that guy, he's like funny. I've hung out with him, he's cool, and he just like teeny tiny little names. It's just like a J, boom, done. They're like 20 J's, and I'm like, as a business model, fantastic, artistically stimulating, maybe not so much. I don't know. Everyone's got their thing, but like, it's just interesting seeing like, and I've tried to. I don't know if I've tried, but I think I've managed to land in like a sort of like a nice equilibrium state between a marketable tattoo, like a tattoo that is like desired by a large quantity, and then like also like being able to push my art in a way that feels like artistically stimulating. Because like and not saying like Russ stuff's not, that's not what I'm getting at. It's just like when we get like so weird, it's like you have to try to find someone who wants that, where it's like a lot of biomech stuff now looking back on it, it was like super poppin', but I'm like how many people were like going to end up getting a full suit of like turning into like an alien? You know, like a lot, but like
it turned out,
many, though, you know, is a lot. So it's like kind of just like, I never really thought about that until now, you know, where sometimes I'm like, yeah, it is interesting how we'll like, even like Carson and a lot of this stuff where it's like, just a weird dichotomy, and it's a little bit of almost like a little heartbreaking sometimes, because you'll have some of these dudes who like, I actually don't know how booked anyone is, so I'm not gonna say anybody's not that booked or anything, but like, say like this dude is just doing some crazy art, but it's like, how marketable is that at a certain level where it's like you know, like a leaf like on fire from an illuminated thing, which I was like my hand was at, you know, it's like I'm super into this, you know, so that's why like for me I'm like super like it's super relevant because I'm thinking about it and I'm like, huh. But I guess because we do typically just think of like stuff that we're into, and then we're like, if I'm into it, other people are going to be into it, which I think is how you should think about it. You know, like really, I don't think you shouldn't think it that way, and I think you should just do the art that's like coming out of you, and then like if you can like put that on people, that's like next level, and that's really how I've ever approached it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing if you think about like some like a certain, and because it goes in waves. Like right now, a lot of the people who were like into what I was doing, they're like loving the fusion Japanese, and you kind of see them come in these little waves though, and now it's like a lot of the Masako influence is like taking a lot of them, and like now they're all like, I want one of those, and you're like, yes you do, because that's what I'm seeing, you know, so you see these currents kind of come through, and it's a little interesting. It's like, I really don't like to chase anything. That's like not, I'm like the opposite of chase mentality. I think it's just like, stay true to yourself, be authentic, create like craft that's like coming out of you and feels inspired, and then like the people will come. Feel the dreams type vibe. Like if you build it, they will come. That's kind of it.
Seth Godin, the marketing guy, has a saying, people like us do things like this, you know, like when you're thinking of like what you, like who you're building something for, what you're making things for, you're talking about just continually like exploring things that are interesting to you. And if you build it, they will come. His quote for that is like, people like us do things like this. People like us like things like this. And so you're thinking, you know, and so that is that kind of target audience that you were talking about, and you know, all of that.
I think it's important to just stay into that and not get too caught up in the like chasing trends, or like, oh, what's going to be the next trend in tattooing? Maybe I should do that. It's like, no. You should just do you, and if what you're doing happens to become that, like ride that wave, or just ride always the wave that you're on. You know, don't like just like, I don't know, just make your tattoo look like that, because it's always going to look like kind of like lacking like soul or substance, or like any like thing that feels like a value metric again. Like it won't feel authentic. So dude, I mean, I've been talking to eternity, so it's probably good. There's enough for people to probably like, they'll be like, what is he even talking about now?
Where did that discussion go? No, I think it's been great. We've hit a lot of really interesting stuff. I've really enjoyed it. What so if folks do want to keep up, or you're outside of Austin, your shop is in Austin. How do they? If anyone wants to keep up, what's the best way?
I'd say Instagram or my website. It's just Dillon Forte on Instagram, DillonForte.com website. Super straightforward. Also, basically, I pretty much only post stuff on Instagram or website. I don't even update that much, but that is like the landing of everything. So it's kind of like, and then just any cool little podcast or like weird little random bit that'll pop up. I like to kind of just try new stuff. So.
Yeah, and I'm with you on the podcasting. We started this one because I couldn't really find one. There wasn't one out in 2013. There was a guy that was before us, but it was an audio only thing. It was Keith Caramello or something like that was his name.
Yeah, I remember that guy. A lot of like color portraits, like some sick dogs and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and he had a little kind of an audio podcast that went on for a little while, but not super long. And then there's been this explosion. There's so many great ones now that some have come and gone, but there's some really great ones out there. And I hope there's 100 more. You know, I
think it's good because you can do so much sharing with them. You know, it's like. People you can just go on one of theirs. It's like, it's pretty easy to share when this is like the format in which we're sharing.
Hey, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end of the episode. I appreciate you lending a little bit of your time and attention to us. I appreciate Dillon for lending some of his time and attention to us as well. Again, check out Yacht Club. Check out the Inside Fireside Tattoo Club. If you don't want to make a physical journey to Arkansas to hang out on a boat, you can make a virtual or digital journey from the comfort of your own home and hang out with me and the rest of the club just on a regular weeknight, like say a Monday night for Mindset Mondays, or a Wednesday night for a technique talk, or a Friday night for a drawing night. Anyways, thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.